When people are asked to name Seinfeld's defining episode, the answer that invariably comes back is The Contest. This season 4 classic is generally regarded as the moment the show truly arrived as a landmark sitcom. Yet, 2 seasons earlier, another episode aired which is even more important to the series. The best Seinfeld episodes go places that no other sitcom had dared to venture before them, and that very few sitcoms since can imagine competing with. They tend to demonstrate total disregard for the traditions of the format, revolutionizing our idea of what can be funny and entertaining on television. Season 2's The Chinese Restaurant unquestionably falls into this category. The first episode to exclude one of Seinfeld's main cast members, since Kramer wasn't yet allowed to appear outside his apartment by the show's writers, it completely ripped up the script for primetime comedy on American network television. The whole 23 minutes of its story takes place inside an unnamed Chinese restaurant in Manhattan, where Jerry, George, and Elaine are stuck waiting for a table. The group are planning to see Ed Wood's infamous B-movie Plan 9 from outer space after they eat, which adds a sense of jeopardy to their overlong waiting time at the restaurant. The Chinese Restaurant was the episode that changed Seinfeld. At its peak as a sitcom, Seinfeld produced episodes better than anything on television today. While this peak is generally considered to be between seasons 4 and 7 of the show, those who were involved in making it believe that The Chinese Restaurant was the episode that changed everything, way back in season 2. According to the documentary Seinfeld, Inside Look, co-creator Larry David came up with the story while actually eating in a New York Chinese restaurant with Jerry Seinfeld. The show's cast were incredibly excited to perform in the episode, which was scripted to play out in real time in a single location exactly as it appears on screen. In fact, Kramer actor Michael Richards was quite disappointed not to be involved. As he told Inside Look, he felt the episode was at the cutting edge of television. Richards had to be reassured by David that Kramer-less scripts weren't going to be a regular occurrence on Seinfeld. The Chinese Restaurant left its mark on the TV landscape of the 1990s, and is now remembered as one of its sitcom's greatest moments. The episode pushed the boundaries of the format to an innovative extreme. What's more, it returned strong viewing numbers when it first aired on May 23, 1991, proving that experimentation and popularity weren't necessarily at odds. Larry David threatened to quit the show if the episode didn't air. Among the standout Seinfeld episodes written by Larry David, The Chinese Restaurant is arguably the most important of all. This season 2 episode very nearly spelled the end of the sitcom. With NBC executives discussing the possibility of pulling it from the air, David allegedly threatened to walk if The Chinese Restaurant wasn't broadcast via Collider. Those at the top of the network broadcasting Seinfeld simply didn't understand the point of the episode. During Seinfeld, Inside Look, NBC executive Warren Littlefield recalled asking himself, are they trying to save money? Setting a whole sitcom episode entirely in one small room was something that hadn't been done since the 1950s. Doesn't something have to happen in this show? Littlefield asked Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David. George Costanza actor Jason Alexander remembered the network executives putting it more bluntly. How dare you holes try and pull something off like this, was the way their response to the episode pitch was reported back to him. David's threat to walk out, effectively pulling the plug on the show, ended up working. NBC gave in to his insistence that the episode air in the form he'd intended, although it was pushed towards the end of the second season. Seinfeld got renewed because of The Chinese Restaurant's success. Despite the worst fears of network executives, The Chinese Restaurant was a ratings success, flying in the face of conventional wisdom. When it aired, Seinfeld was on particularly thin ice. According to the commentary provided with the episode for the DVD release of Season 2, NBC tops had reportedly scheduled a meeting to discuss the show's future that very evening. Seinfeld was almost cancelled after its pilot was made, and the axe seemed poised to fall once more if The Chinese Restaurant proved to be as disastrous as executives were predicting. While the sitcom had already been penciled into NBC's 1991 fall schedule, it could just as easily be erased. As things turned out, those who doubted the validity of the episode were pleasantly surprised. It was one of the highest rated of Seinfeld's second season in terms of viewership, and went down especially well with audiences. The Chinese Restaurant almost single-handedly cemented the show's status as a brilliantly quirky, hilariously inventive sitcom about ostensibly nothing in particular. In the words of Jason Alexander, it was the defining beginning of the anarchy of Seinfeld. The sitcom could go almost anywhere, and do almost anything, or nothing, and still be funny, while somehow getting to the heart of the human condition. The Chinese Restaurant popularized the sitcom bottle episode. At the time Seinfeld first appeared on network television, only a handful of shows had really mastered the art of a bottle episode, and none of them were sitcoms. The term was coined by TV writer Leslie Stevens in the 1960s to refer to the practice of producing certain episodes of his own show, The Outer Limits, more cheaply. Stevens suggested that making such an episode was akin to pulling a genie out of a bottle, because it effectively meant conjuring a story out of thin air. It was then applied to several different episodes of Star Trek, a sci-fi series partially inspired by Stevens' earlier show. But before Seinfeld, the term was exclusive to industry insiders.